As we approach the end of the hurricane season for 2022, we are reminded of the devastation that hurricanes can cause. A few days ago, Hurricane Ian hit Florida. This hurricane is one of the strongest hurricanes in the Atlantic region and has caused major damage to the area. The hurricane has already caused widespread damage to infrastructure and caused widespread flooding, power outages, and evacuations in some parts of Florida. It also resulted in a large number of deaths and injuries. When a hurricane hits land, its destructive power is far greater than when it impacts water. The effects of Hurricane Ian are not limited to Florida. In fact, this storm has had a huge impact on other countries as well. For instance, the Caribbean, Central America, and the southeastern United States have also been affected by this storm, and there have been reports that a few people have died in this country due to the hurricane. At least 100 fatalities have been confirmed. Will this be the worst and costliest hurricane to ever hit the U.S.? Let's take a look at the 10 costliest hurricane hits in U.S. history. Number 10. Hurricane Michael, 2018. Hurricane Michael is one of the most destructive hurricanes in recent history. The violent storm made landfall on October 12, 2018, causing catastrophic damage to several towns in Florida. According to NASA, Hurricane Michael is one of the most powerful hurricanes ever recorded in the Atlantic Ocean. At its peak, it had maximum winds of 200 miles per hour. Even though it was at its peak when it made landfall, it still had maximum winds of 175 miles per hour. The only area hit as hard as Florida was the island of Cuba, but it caused far less damage because it had far less population density. Hurricane Michael killed thousands of people and caused $29 billion in damage before making landfall. The storm made a hit at Category 5. Many people in Florida evacuated their homes before Hurricane Michael even made landfall. Areas north of Panama City were especially crowded as 11 million people tried to leave safely. All schools in the state were closed for 3 days before allowing anyone back on campus. The government even sent ships to help people evacuate from risky islands off the coast of Florida. Sadly, many people could not leave their homes during the hurricane, and many were injured when windows were blown out from inside buildings. When the hurricane finally hit land, it was unlike any person had ever witnessed before. The storm left a trail of destruction across parts of Florida, knocking down buildings and killing thousands of people. Many animals also died during the storm. Trees snapped like matchsticks and animals suffocated underneath them. There are reports that some people were rescued from small boats after being stranded during the hurricane. Fortunately, volunteers from all over came together to help out during the aftermath of the hurricane. By doing so, they helped repair communities and distribute supplies to survivors. Number 9. Hurricane Ivan, 2004. Hurricane Ivan was one of the strongest hurricanes to make landfall in the United States. The storm hit the Gulf Coast on September 21, 2004, causing major damage, killing over 500 people and causing $32 billion in damage. Ivan was one of the most destructive hurricanes to hit the United States in the 21st century. Ivan struck at 8:20 p.m. on September 19, 2004, as a Category 5 hurricane near the southern tip of Cuba. After hitting Cuba, the hurricane rapidly intensified and became a Category 4 storm with 110 miles per hour winds. This rapid strengthening caused major distress for those living along the storm's path. The storm then made its way across the Atlantic Ocean and slammed into the southernmost part of the Gulf Coast of the United States at such a high speed that some areas experienced up to 60 miles per hour winds before the storm's eye came ashore. After striking the coast of Florida near Cape Kennedy, Ivan rapidly weakened to a Category 3 storm with 75 miles per hour winds but remained a potent hurricane. By this point, thousands had evacuated their homes, and many coastal cities were left completely uninhabitable due to falling debris and flooding from wind damage. Hurricane Ivan then made its way through Alabama and Georgia before making its way back out to sea. The storm weakened slightly while crossing Georgia and Alabama before it regained its strength again while exiting the Gulf of Mexico. 2 days after initially striking land, Hurricane Ivan made its second landfall as a Category 4 storm in south-central Mississippi. At this point, the storm had reached its maximum intensity as a powerful Category 5 hurricane with 200 miles per hour winds and a massive eye measuring over 120 miles in diameter. While crossing Alabama and Georgia, Ivan produced torrential rains that caused severe flooding and landslides. Many rivers and streams rose significantly, leaving many areas without access to water or power for several days afterward. However, this wasn't Ivan's only deadly effect on life. Far less noticeable but still deadly effects included extreme temperatures, a lack of vegetation, dust storms, and disruption of basic necessities such as food and medical supplies for miles around where Ivan made landfall. In these areas, people were left isolated without any supplies for weeks after Ivan hit, creating an even greater impact on local communities than previously thought possible. Almost 6 years later, Hurricane Ivan's name remains synonymous with devastation and death in many parts of the world. Number 8. Hurricane Ike, 2008. Hurricane Ike landed on the Texas coast as a Category 2 storm on September 16, 2008. As it moved inland, it became the largest hurricane to hit the United States since 2006. The storm brought strong winds, rain and waves to the area it struck. Strong winds knocked down trees and power lines and damaged houses. Some areas received more than 12 feet of rain from the storm. This saturated the ground and caused flooding. Waves also wreaked havoc by damaging boats, buildings, and other objects along the shoreline. The damage caused by the storm was up to $40.2 billion. After hitting Texas, the hurricane moved through Louisiana and Mississippi before weakening as it crossed the Gulf of Mexico. In Louisiana, it caused even more damage and further increased life-threatening conditions for residents. As people struggled to recover from Hurricane Ike's aftermath 7 months later, officials discussed how they would respond to another similar disaster. The government prepared Americans for the storm by ordering non-essential workers to stay home. They also stockpiled supplies in preparation for transport to impacted areas. However, many citizens felt that these actions were insufficient because they happened too late in recovery efforts. The media focused on the disaster's aftermath, reporting on the needs of victims and their frustration with slow government assistance. Number 7. Hurricane Andrew, 1992. Hurricane Andrew caused extensive damage and thousands of deaths when it hit the southern United States in 1992. It was the worst hurricane ever recorded in the state of Florida at the time and proved to be even more destructive than scientists had originally feared. Hurricane Andrew caused $55.9 billion in damages. It tore through the U.S. state of Florida on August 24, 1992. The storm hit at Category 5 and brought winds of up to 300 miles per hour and torrential rain that lasted for over 24 hours. It caused total devastation to almost every part of the state. Even 2 states away from Florida were affected by the storm. The storm's name was later changed to Emily after the damage it caused to the southern state of Georgia. This is a horrific tale of how one of nature's most powerful disasters can affect not only the area where it struck, but also the surrounding states. In its aftermath, many people were left homeless by the strong winds and flooding caused by Andrew. After striking, the hurricane triggered a tsunami across several states, which led to power outages and more deaths as people tried to navigate flash floods and falling debris. In addition, many livestock perished in the storm, which led to shortages in animal products. Food prices increased considerably after Andrew struck, which led to many hungry people in the affected areas. Many people were left homeless by the strong winds and flooding caused by Andrew. The devastation created by this hurricane was so severe that some of America's most famous attractions were completely destroyed. For example, the Rockefeller Building in Midtown Manhattan was severely damaged after being hit by flying debris from Andrew. All that remains now are ghostly ruins of what once was one of New York's most famous landmarks. Although Hurricane Andrew was one of the deadliest hurricanes ever recorded, it spurred a revolution in disaster preparedness across several states. Many deaths were prevented due to better building regulations, and people have since learned how to prepare for these deadly events. Though not seen in person, Hurricane Andrew still has an everlasting effect on those who lived through it, both emotionally and physically damaged from its aftermaths. Number 6. Hurricane Irma, 2017. Hurricane Irma is one of the most dangerous natural disasters to ever hit the United States. It struck the Florida Keys as a Category 4 storm on September 10, 2017, causing severe damage to buildings and vehicles. Hurricane Irma was one of the most powerful hurricanes ever recorded in the Atlantic Ocean. It had wind speeds of up to 270 miles per hour and was 17 miles wide at its widest point. Many people were forced to evacuate their homes as soon as they knew about the impending storm. It caused heavy damage in the Keys, where it destroyed buildings and caused injuries. Schools closed and authorities encouraged people to evacuate early if they wanted to save lives. Fortunately, Irma took a turn away from Florida and caused far less destruction than it could have done. The hurricane caused $59.5 billion of damage to businesses and homes in its path. Even trees and power lines snapped by the wind fell down onto cars, causing major damage but also prompting people to seek cover. Thankfully, everyone evacuated in time and survived this powerful natural disaster. The government sent disaster relief teams to help those who were affected by Hurricane Irma. First responders came with food, water, and medical supplies for those who were stuck in shelters for weeks after the hurricane hit. Some shelters had only food for several months, so faraway counties sent additional supplies to ensure everyone was well nourished during recovery efforts. Number 5. Hurricane Ida, 2021. In August of 2021, a deadly and destructive Hurricane Ida decimated the southern coast of Louisiana. The storm was a Category 4 hurricane with 150 miles per hour winds and caused catastrophic flooding in multiple regions. The remnants of the storm caused a tornado outbreak and catastrophic flooding in the northeastern United States. After making landfall near Port Fourchon, Louisiana, Hurricane Ida slowly began to weaken before transitioning into a post-tropical cyclone and accelerating through the northeast United States. There, it broke rainfall records and stalled for 2 days before being absorbed by another developing low-pressure area. Hurricane Ida moved over the eastern United States and destroyed lives and homes. Thousands of miles of power lines lost electricity, and more than 1 million people in total had no power for days. New Orleans was also affected by Ida's strong winds and heavy rains. The aftermath of Ida tapped into most states with disastrous flash flooding, destroying homes, trees, and highways. Ida was the 5th costliest hurricane, with at least $75.25 billion in damages. Number 4. Hurricane Sandy, 2012. Hurricane Sandy caused major destruction along the eastern seaboard of the United States in October 2012. It destroyed homes, businesses, and historical landmarks along its path. Beginning October 22, Tropical Storm Sandy strengthened gradually. By October 25, Sandy had made landfall in Jamaica and Cuba. Throughout the next few days, Sandy weakened at times to a tropical storm before re-strengthening as a Category 1 hurricane on October 29. Finally, this disaster cyclone that began in the western Caribbean Sea moved ashore near Brigantine, New Jersey with hurricane-force winds on October 29. Many people suffered injuries or fatalities during this disaster, and many animals were killed due to the hurricane's destruction of zoos and animal shelters. The aftermath of Hurricane Sandy is still being felt as far off as a year later. Hurricane Sandy caused more than $70 billion in damage. The storm affected Cuba, the Northeast, and Canada. It killed 233 people across 8 countries. Hurricane Sandy became the largest Atlantic hurricane on record when measured by diameter. Hurricane Sandy was the most recent and most devastating of the 4 hurricanes that have affected the East Coast. These other major hurricanes include Katrina, Rita, and Floyd. Each of these has caused destruction and death in its own way. Many people are without electricity and clean water due to the hurricane's aftermath. Number 3. Hurricane Maria, 2017. Hurricane Maria caused major destruction in Puerto Rico as it made its way across the Caribbean Sea in September 2017. The estimated damage recorded was up to $107.1 billion. Throughout the island, homes were destroyed, power was out for months, and many people lost their cars. Many schools were closed for several months, and nearly everyone had to deal with damaged or destroyed property. After hitting the island, Maria at Category 4 traveled westward and caused severe flooding in neighboring areas of the United States Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. During its passage, Maria's winds increased to a Category 5 as it devastated the island. First, hurricanes are named and numbered to make it easier to prepare for them. Hurricane Maria was the 6th major hurricane of the 2017 season. It was also known as Hurricane Maria and Katia before it hit Puerto Rico. Hurricane Maria's impact was far more extensive and prolonged compared to storms that hit the same place before it. Its core was almost 2,200 miles wide at its furthest point. This made it one of the largest hurricanes ever recorded. As a result, many structures were destroyed and people had trouble getting supplies to them. Furthermore, many farmers lost their crops when their fields were flooded by rain from the hurricane winds. As time progressed, people began to recover from this devastating event, but not without much hardship. Number 2. Hurricane Harvey 2017. Hurricane Harvey is one of the most powerful hurricanes to hit the United States in history. It caused massive destruction and death to thousands of people in Texas. Many survivors are still displaced by the disaster and will need years to recover. Hurricane Harvey hit land on August 26, 2017, as a Category 4 storm. It destroyed thousands of homes and caused massive damage estimated to be about $148.8 billion. Many people had no access to shelter as this storm scored a direct hit on Texas. Many low-lying areas of the state were hit especially hard by this storm. Some areas were flooded with up to 60 feet of water. This destroyed many important buildings and vehicles. People were seen still cleaning up from this powerful hurricane months later. Hurricane Harvey is the second of the worst natural disasters the U.S. has ever seen. Thankfully, many organizations worked hard to provide aid to those affected by this terrible storm. Number 1. Hurricane Katrina 2005. Hurricane Katrina was the most powerful hurricane to make landfall in the U.S. history. With winds over 180 miles per hour, it was 15 times more powerful than a typical hurricane. The storm first hit Florida as a Category 4 in August 2005 and eventually made its way up the Gulf Coast as a Category 3. It then made its way up the Mississippi River towards New Orleans, dropping over 20 inches of rain along its path. On August 29, New Orleans was hit extremely hard by the storm. However, the city is built below sea level and sustained little damage from flooding. Unfortunately, this is where Katrina's power started to wane. Even though New Orleans had an elevation of less than 12 feet above sea level, thousands of lives were lost due to poor infrastructure and lack of supplies during the hurricane. Many people in New Orleans, where Katrina made its way, were left homeless after the storm. Many were left without food or water after government officials neglected to secure supplies for this massive crowd of people. Shelters were nowhere to be found for these people, so they had to sleep outdoors in sub-zero temperatures without adequate protection from the elements. Overall, around 200,000 people lived in New Orleans before Hurricane Katrina hit. Only 15% of those people survived the catastrophe. Over $186.3 billion was estimated to have been lost during this crisis. Government officials received a lot of criticism for their handling of the situation. They had failed to properly warn citizens about this dangerous event, which resulted in many deaths and injuries among civilians. Alright, that's it for today. Do drop your comments and share your views about these hurricanes. Don't forget to click on the like button, subscribe to our channel, and click on the notification bell for more informative videos. See you in the next one.